Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 14. I hope you're all doing well. I'm sure you are anxiously awaiting the end of the semester, and we are so close, just 2 weeks left and a final. Our big focus for this week is revisiting spelling, orthography, writing, encoding, and word recognition, decoding. However, we've already talked a lot about each of those areas when you worked with your first student, so the only new content I have for you is on multisyllabic words. So before I go into that, we will talk about upcoming assignments. You do have one reading for this week. It is an article by Patricia Cunningham, who is often associated with making words. She developed that activity where you give students word tiles or word cards to create one larger word, and then you kind of build up to that word, starting with smaller words and directing students to change letters and that sort of thing. So I would like you to read her article, The Multisyllabic Word Dilemma, which is very appropriate for this week since we are talking about decoding. But a difference with the more mature readers is they are increasingly exposed to more multisyllabic words than younger readers are. And with those multisyllabic words, they oftentimes carry a great deal of the meaning of the text. So it's very important that we not only assess our students and their ability to decode multisyllabic words, but then we analyze those assessments in order to plan instruction to arm them with the strategies that they need to attack those words. So that reading is great. It even gives you sample lessons to teach simple roots and even more complex roots. So, a very practical application sort of article. Good news! There is no participation activity this week. You are welcome. I feel like you have plenty going on and would prefer you take the time to start studying for the final and start working on that last case study report. So please do those things in lieu of the participation activity this week. The only assignment you have due this week, which is due on May 8th, is the Artifacts and Reflection 4B from your fourth student session. That is due May 8th at midnight. There's no video, no participation activity, and you only have a week past the deadline to submit for any sort of credit. Session 4B is this week. There are 3 required assessments. One needs to be in the area of spelling or orthography, and it is the Words Their Way inventory that you're doing again. The second required assessment needs to be some form of writing sample. And the last assessment should be decoding and word recognition. Now, you already have some information and data from the QRI word list and from giving the QRI regarding your students' performance on decoding. So please think critically about what assessment would be best to give them. You could potentially give them the core phonics, but only give the multisyllabic piece, or you could go back to week 6 where I have some structural analysis inventories. You could maybe assess their morphology skills and how they're able to look for patterns in words depending on what your student needs. So within spelling and orthography, you do need to give the words their way. Please give the appropriate level based on the student's grade level. Back in week 7 will be all of the materials and a review if you need that. This is required. Again, the primary spelling inventory is for grades K through 3. I don't think anyone has a K through 3 student, but if so, there are some reminders. The elementary spelling inventory is for grades 1 through 6. I feel like most people will be giving that. Make sure you discontinue if the student ever becomes visibly frustrated or misses 5 in a row. And then there's the upper level spelling inventory, which is for grades 5 through 12. So think carefully about which one would be the most appropriate for your student. Steps for the spelling inventory, pretty straightforward. You select which one you're going to give. You administer it as if you would a spelling test. You have the student number their paper. You may want to number it for them in advance. Make sure you pronounce each word naturally and don't draw out any sounds. Say each word twice, use it in a sentence, monitor their performance, stop if they become frustrated, and then make sure you go back and use the feature guide on week 7 to analyze the results. Next assessment is a writing sample. Take a look at the Common Core state standards to come up with some sort of prompt for your student. There's a link to the Common Core standards. If you go to page 18, that will give you information on writing. The writing sample can be scored one of 3 ways. You could do a holistic scoring where you use parameters from the state or school to give the piece 1 overall score. You could do more of an analytic scoring where you judge the whole piece in terms of various subcomponents. An example of that would be figure 8.23 on page 359, or using a right traits rubric. And lastly, you could do a form of observation checklist. There's also a sample of that on your book, but you could make a list of skills that you are looking for and check off whether or not the student has mastered that skill. For the decoding and word recognition assessment, again, you could go back to the core phonics survey, which we gave to our younger student, but I would probably not start with letter names and sounds. I would modify your starting place. You could do the BPST, which I posted in week 6. I have a Schenker and Cockrum quick decoding assessment, as well as a structural analysis inventory back in week 6. Also, the San Diego Quick is a form of word recognition, and so you could do that as well, or the Core Graded High Frequency Word Survey. You could just go back to the QRI word list and reevaluate their performance on that, noticing any trends or patterns and seeing if there's a difference between their performance on the word list versus the word in context. You could select a different tool of your choice for decoding or word recognition and then see the resources back in week 6. Session 5B is going to be next week. That will be your last session with this student. There are going to be 4 assessments required. However, one of them you already gave. Those 4 assessments are the core vocabulary screening, which doesn't take too long. The second one, what you're going to do is you're going to take their writing sample from this week and you're going to look at the vocabulary that they used in their writing sample and analyze their proficiency with that. So that assessment you already will have done. So you'll just need to give the core vocabulary screening and then 2 additional assessments of your choice. So I would start to piece together your case study report for this student and see what areas you want to get more information in and then give an assessment geared toward that. And then of course do some sort of recognition celebration to thank the student for their time and all their effort, especially with all of the QRIs they did recently for you. All right, let's talk a little bit about the final exam. The study guide is on its way. I'm working on that now and we'll send that out when it's ready. But I'm basically just going through every session, weeks 1 through 15 will be covered on the final, and picking out important terms, concepts, and assessments that you should be able to administer the assessment, score it, analyze it, and then interpret the data. So your all of those things will be on the final. So make sure you know important terms, concepts, and the assessments. It will be a timed final. It's going to be 90 minutes. Questions will be a variety of type, multiple choice, short answer, true, false, and essay. The deadline to complete the final is Friday, May 24th. And the final will be available starting May 18th, possibly sooner. So that's the information I have on the final right now. I will send you a study guide and give you more information about the structure and format of the final. There will be at least 3 essays. One will be more an essay. The other two will be more case study, where you're analyzing results and that sort of thing. And then the rest will just be short answer, um, fill in the blank, multiple choice, that kind of thing. All right, lastly, in the potpourri category, I wanted to talk about the case study report. Definitely start working on that. Make sure to consider what domains you need more information on, so that way when you do session 5, you have a plan for the assessments you want to give. And this assignment is due Wednesday, May 22nd by midnight. I highly encourage you to get it in on that date because the last day to submit any assignment is Friday, May 24th for the semester. So that's only 2 days after that is due anyway. You will not have a 1 week grace period like you do on most assignments for reduced credit. So please get your case study in by Wednesday, May 22nd. You can definitely start working on that now. All right, are we there yet? No, but we're getting really close. It is currently week 14. You have your 4th reflection for the second student. No video, no participation activity. Next week, you have your final artifact and reflection due, and your final video will be due. Then week 16 is when the case study report will be due, and just a quick participation activity, which is going to be a Zoomerang survey to get your feedback on the course. And then it will be finals week, and you have an online final which must be completed by midnight of May 24th. All right, those are the upcoming assignments and assessments I wanted you to know about. If something was unclear or you have any further questions, please definitely email me about those. All right, I'm going to stop there and we'll see you back for part 2 on multisyllabic words.